All right, so let's go straight to Alabama to get the inside scoop. Quinn Hillier is contributing editor of the Yellowhammer News and National Review, and he has been covering Judge Moore and Alabama politics for a very long time. Quinn, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Shannon. Glad to be on with you.
All right, what is the mood down there? What's the sense you're getting on the ground?
The mood is very fluid right now. The people don't know what to make of this. You've got a lot of people very angrily defending Roy Moore. You've got a lot of people that are just saying we've had enough of it and why doesn't he get out of the way? But you got a lot of people that I've heard go back and forth and back and forth. Again, very fluid. They just don't know what to think.
Well, it's interesting because we have long talked about the fact that for a lot of people who support Moore, to get this report coming from the Washington Post, they immediately discredit it. We have a piece that was written by J. Pepper Byers down there for you guys, and I want to quote from that a little bit. And the title of the article is "Why Alabamians Won't Believe the Washington Post Story About Roy Moore, Even If It's True." It says, for decades, its editors and reporters have attacked our history, our heritage, and our culture. They ridicule our beliefs. They make fun of our people. They think our way of life is backward and offensive. Folks, they can't stand us, and they hate, I mean hate, people like Roy Moore. I mean, he talks in the article about the fact that these allegations could be true, but immediately because of that past history, people down there are going to discredit them.
Pepper has a point. And I touched on that in my two columns as well. What I want to urge people to do is to take a step back. Yes, there has been bias from the establishment media against the South and against conservatives for a long time. No, that doesn't mean that there's necessarily some grand conspiracy. And the truth might be somewhere in between, where there might be reason to look twice if it comes from, say, the Washington Post or the New York Times. At least Alabamans think that. But anybody that automatically dismisses something just because it comes from the Post is making the opposite mistake. Because if they have a very well-sourced, very well-reported story, and it's this serious, people do need to at least take it seriously and look into it.
I know in talking to a lot of people surrounding the GOP steering committee down there, they've got a decision to make about whether they would formally try to withdraw him as their nominee. My understanding is, the belief is that most people think that group is not going to do that. They're going to stand by him. Do you think, though, that has the possibility, the potential to change in the coming weeks?
It could possibly change. It depends on what comes out, and that's why I keep urging everybody to hold their fire and not jump to conclusions either way. But my understanding is the steering committee met this afternoon and this evening, and right now they're hanging tight. They're not doing anything pro or con. They're just they're acting as if they still have the same candidate. But that doesn't mean that if new evidence comes out in the next week or two that they might not change their minds again.
Yeah, we have a couple more women who've come out today, and in fact some late breaking news on some more allegations. Stories very similar to what we've heard before. Do you think there's a breaking point where Alabama voters will have to say they just can't see past it, even though he's not had due process, he's not had his day in court, he's not had a legal hearing? It may be too much for him to overcome.
It might be. Again, he started some pushback today, but he only pushed back against one aspect of one of the stories, and frankly the most sensational story, and he didn't ever attack the Washington Post piece in his lawyer's press conference today. People rational people are waiting to see what he comes up with, what the media comes up with, and then trying to figure out where do we go from here. Right now, again, you could have a big backlash in his favor if people think that he's been smeared, but you also, I've seen a lot of shifting where people that might have been for him are now saying they're not going to vote. Some people who had said they weren't going to vote at all are now saying they're going to vote against him. So, as I said at the start, very fluid, all sorts of cross-cutting pressures.
All right, Quinn Hillier, you've covered this for decades down there in Alabama. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate it.